Hello, welcome back to Hunter Tune. Today we are out at the shop and we are about to dyno tune my Miata. So in the last couple of videos we actually have been slowly kind of putting the turbo kit together, and we finally got the car up and running and driving, and I installed a speedy EFI ECU, and I've been working through some bugs over the last couple days and just have been very busy just trying to work a lot of the bugs out with this ECU and, you know, tuning a new car. So before we get to dyno tuning and showing you some of the stuff with the speedy EFI ECU, I don't know if you guys can notice, but I did get a new camera, and I've been doing a lot of trial and error with new cameras and stuff like that, and I can already tell that this camera that I'm using right now is miles better than any other camera that I've had in the past. So this camera is a Canon G7X, and I really like it so far. And hopefully the video quality and everything like that is a lot better, and it adjusts to the light a lot better. Like, it's a lot darker in here, but it's not, you know, changing the image drastically for you guys. My old camera was this, it's like a Sony something. I don't know exactly what camera this is called, but I did buy it. I was going to buy the Canon G7X prior to buying that one, but I played with my budget a little bit and I couldn't really afford the Canon G7X at the time. But now I have one, and I'm stoked. I'm super excited about it. So over this last week, really, that I haven't had any videos out, I have been out at the shop. I cleaned out here quite a bit. I don't know if you guys can tell, but like, I did do a lot of cleanup and just kind of organizing and getting stuff off the workbenches, and just kind of organizing a little bit of stuff here and there, like all my power tools, and I got my bench cleaned off, put all my tools away. The only thing that I'm still kind of cluttered out here with is like all my exhaust piping and random, like, I like to keep exhaust piping kind of laying around just because, you know, you never know when you need a weird bend or, you know, just some piping in general to fix a piece of exhaust. Beats going out and having to buy it. So I like to keep this random pile of exhaust and I just chuck it under my bench. And it kind of is an eyesore, but I don't really know where else to go with it that would look good. You know, obviously, in like the bench is just kind of a cluttered mess. Same with my toolboxes and stuff. They're kind of just, you know, there. Just kind of doing a little sort of tour walk around here at the shop. I have a ton of vehicles actually outside right now. I did have 12 vehicles in here the other day, and I actually took a picture and posted it on Facebook. Yeah, we can fit a ton of cars in here, but it does get very cluttered when I'm working on stuff. I don't really like to have like 12 freaking cars in here and try to work on something. So I like to just pull all the cars out when I get here and then work on whatever I'm working on and then pull them back in at the end of the day. So that's kind of what I do. Just, you know, when there's not so much stuff laying around, it definitely gives you a new outlook and like a different perspective on working on stuff. But anyways, I got this Integra 2. I have to do a big update for you guys. Like, I have so much stuff right now. I'm really trying to declutter and just organize a little bit better. And probably in the next video, you guys will see, I don't know, I just have more plans now than I did a couple days ago, because my life has kind of changed drastically. So I have more space now. Well, kind of more space. And yeah, I'm just excited to show you the next video coming up on the channel, and I'm very excited to see what the future may hold. And yeah, just a ton of stuff. And like I said, I hope you guys really enjoy the camera, and I hope the quality is very good. So without further ado, we're gonna get right into working on the Miata and talking to you a little bit about the bugs and some of the glitches I've had with the car so far, and just kind of give you a rundown. Yeah, I can definitely tell this camera is a lot better at low light situations, because the under the hood here is super dark. Like, there's no lighting underneath here, and I can still show you visually quite a bit of stuff under the hood without it being dark or, blurry or anything like that. So the Miata is strapped down on the dyno, and we did install a set of Hunter tuned 550cc injectors. Not yet available, but soon to be available on my website, huntertune.com. They are a high impedance 550cc injector, which I figured would be perfect for this thing, and they seem to be running great. I had to wire in the EV6 injector clips onto the Miata harness, so I did that. I installed a set of BKR7E spark plugs, and I gapped them down. So the injector on the left is the injector that came out of the Miata. This is the factory one. And then to the right of it is a Subaru WRX stock injector that I actually decapped. So I took a factory 2011 Subaru WRX injector, and I decapped the end of it, just like I do on all the LS truck injectors, and I flow tested them, cleaned them and everything, and they ended up working really well. But the height difference I couldn't figure out. I could not get a top hat that worked. I couldn't really lower the rail down, anything like that, to get these injectors to work. So that was kind of frustrating. I probably could have made them work if I tried a little harder, but the Hunter Tune 550s honestly just went right in, and I didn't really have to do a whole lot of modifications. So that was kind of the easier route that I chose. Plus those injectors, those WRX injectors that I have, they flow around 1250cc, and it'd be definitely a little bit overkill for this thing. Not like I couldn't get them to run good, but it's just with this being a speedy EFI ECU, it is a batch fire car, so that means it fires 2 injectors at once, and they usually don't idle and cruise the best with like a super large injector. The smaller the injector you run on a batch fire car, the better it's going to idle and cruise. Change it over to sequential later, but for now I am just running it kind of plug and play, speedy EFI, the way they kind of give you the kit. So let's see here, pitch black under the car here, and you can still see, so that's super cool. So what you see in the camera is honestly like what I'm seeing in real life. It almost seems a little brighter on the camera, which is crazy. So this is a vacuum line actually that I ran up to a boost gauge, and I teed the vacuum line source that goes to the ECU to my boost gauge. So I ran my boost gauge and my wideband air fuel gauge just kind of right into the vents here. I just drilled a big old hole and shoved the gauge in there and wrapped it around with some electrical tape so they don't fall out. So just for now, that's kind of what I'm doing. I also installed an eBay short throw shifter in this car, and it's proven to be pretty awesome. So the speedy EFI is kind of chilling down there. This car did have a bunch of like mouse nests and shit in it, so it is kind of dirty down there, but I do have the vacuum line ran into the ECU, and then I just teed it to my boost gauge, and then the line that actually comes out into the engine bay, I ran and teed into my cruise control module. So the map sensor signal gets it straight from the throttle body here, and then it tees off, goes into the ECU, and then tees off and goes to the cruise control module. So I'm going to get this thing fired up, and that's proven to be a challenge with this ECU, and I don't know if it's something to do with the settings or if it's an issue with the firmware or hardware with the speedy EFI computer. But on cranking, especially on a cold start, this thing won't fire. Like, it literally will not start. So I will show you kind of an example. Watch it fire right up on camera. So I actually just put a brand new AGM battery in this car because I kept killing the fucking battery, and the battery that was in here was like 10 years old. So another kind of weird thing is when I turn the key forward, the fuel pump takes like a good couple seconds afterwards in order to actually like start, or like the turn. Once the key is turned forward, it takes like, you know, say 1 or 2 seconds, and then the pump kicks on. So that's kind of weird. Usually like as soon as the key goes forward, the pump should come on, but I don't know how that stuff works with how they have the speedy EFI stuff set up. But this is a cold start crank. Try it again. Nothing. So what I've been doing lately, and like I said, a lot of this can probably get alleviated in the tune. I haven't really done a whole lot of tuning on this thing yet. I just kind of got it on the dyno, and I'm, you know, going through stuff. So for now, what I've been doing, actually, let me backpedal a little bit. So what I was doing, I got the car running with the stock injectors first with the Speedy EFI ECU, and with the stock injectors and their base file that they give you with the Speedy EFI, it was backfiring, and then on other occasions it would crank so hard that it would like lock the motor up, like it was way too advanced. So it seemed like the timing was either too far advanced or too far retarded on cranking. But once it was running, it was fine. So it was kind of weird, like it couldn't figure out. What I think is happening is the cam signal isn't right with the configuration on the car, because it didn't seem like it knew where number 1 cylinder was. And that's how it determines your cranking timing. It needs to know where that number 1 cylinder is at any given time when the engine shuts off, because sometimes it'll stop, you know, on one rotation, and then you know, the next time you shut the car off, it could be 180 degrees the other way, but yet it'll have the same cranking settings in the computer. So that's something that I'm gonna try to address, but for now, like I said, I've been having to crank the gas, like, you know, pat the gas down here to get it to fire. Come on. It usually starts a lot better than this. Probably because I was trying to crank it before. You hear it lock up there. It also is a ton colder today than it has been the last couple days. We've been spoiled here in Wisconsin over the last week. It's been like 70 degrees in the middle of November, which is pretty sweet. But it's back down to like 40 today. So the car's definitely having a lot harder time starting than it has the last couple days. So I did actually retrofit an LS throttle position sensor on this car as well. So it's using like a 5.3 throttle position sensor. See, like right there, I turned the key and the fuel pump came on for a second and then shut off right away. Oh, come on. Wow. This is fucking ridiculous. And all this stuff is actually not accurate right now, because whenever the Speedy EFI computer is plugged in to the laptop, it says it's online even though the key's off. So that's kind of different compared to like normal Megasquirt stuff. And obviously when I do inputs with the throttle, it's all dead and the temperatures and stuff are all wrong. But yeah, so I'm gonna try to go through here and also get try to get some of this stuff squared away. Cranking settings. Hear it backfire there. Burn the damn starter out of it. Doesn't smell like fuel at all. Like it's not getting, it seems like it's almost not getting anything. So I'll have to play with the priming pulse width to get it to get some fuel. Alrighty guys, so I got the Miata. I had it running pretty decent the other day. Came out here today and it's kind of, you know, like I said, the temperature's a lot colder, and I've always had cranking issues with the car to get it to start right, and I've also had a lot of idling bugs where it just doesn't want to idle, etc, etc. So I'm actually reaching out to the Speedy EFI Facebook group, and I just asked if anybody was available, since I'm here on the dyno right now, if anybody was available for a phone call, or if I could call anybody to get some customer support on maybe some issues that I'm having, because from my understanding is the firmware that is on my board right now is the wrong one, and it's just not the one that's recommended. So I reached out to Speedy EFI and they told me to load this different firmware, because I actually saved the firmware from another location, and I actually just saved it to a flash drive. This is the firmware that I've been running, 202.008, 201.903. So it turns out that I did actually have the right firmware loaded onto the car. I did actually have that recommendation already loaded onto the car, and I used that file, which is this one, and you know, obviously I just changed a lot of this stuff when I turboed the car. I changed, you know, the values for your maximum load and stuff, and rescaled the spark and fuel maps. And like I said, I have a tune that's already done. Like, I tuned the car, but it still has a bunch of bugs where I just can't get it to start. And it just has a bunch of weird little bugs and issues. And like I said, I actually posted on the Speedy EFI group here. Just, you know, if anybody's got a minute to chat about some of the bugs I'm having, somebody comments and says, if you actually post your issues, you'll get higher quality replies. That's funny. Let's check when I actually posted about an issue. I posted about an issue here, right here, 6 days ago. Said that I recently turboed my Miata using a Speedy EFI ECU, having issues on cranking startup where the car's randomly drastically changing ignition timing on cranking startup. Sometimes fires perfectly, other times it backfires, and other times it cranks harder than an old big block. Let's see what kind of replies we got. What do you have the advanced set to in the cranking area of the table? I said 0, 10, 20, all with the same results every time because I did. I changed it. This isn't my first rodeo tuning. Following, mine does this as well from Chris Sadowski. He's had some issues. We talked back and forth a little bit. Same issue this guy, same here. Same issue happens to him. Talking about firmware here to maybe see if that's the issue. Following, deal with the same issue. I have the same issue. Once it's started, it's fine. Issue, mine does this too. Scared the fuck out of the FedEx man. Just all people with the same issue, no actual answers. So I don't know what that guy meant by higher quality replies. And I'm not bashing Speedy EFI at all, but it really just seems like the support for it is garbage. Like, I guess there is a reason that it's $300 and it's not the price of an actual Mega Squirt plug and play, which guys have great luck with. You got to remember that, guys, when you pay for stuff, you got to keep that in mind, you know. But I really just thought it was funny that they don't talk on the phone, because that's just a waste of time. It's a waste of time to talk on the phone. Just like with this right now, I can make a Facebook post and you guys wouldn't understand me as easily as if I made a video talking about it. So that's what I'm doing, making a video, because it's easier to understand when you can hear somebody talk about it. Just my 2 cents. Alright guys, so I got some good news finally. The Miata, all the bugs that I was having with the car was a couple different reasons. I have been trying to tune this car for like 4 or 5 days now. Realistically, over the last week, I've been trying to tune it and trying to get all the bugs worked out of it. And you guys probably saw in one of the last clips, like, I couldn't even get the thing to start. It wouldn't even start. I could, you know, I was cranking it and it wouldn't, it just wasn't happy. Now, I'm gonna start it for you guys, and you'll notice when I turn the key forward that the fuel pump like, do you see how effortless that startup was right there? Let's do it one more time. Okay, there's still a backfire, but it starts nonetheless. So the issue that I was having, at least what I think was happening, was a few things. So I was running Tuner Studio, in a really old version of Tuner Studio, and I was not running it with, I wasn't running the program on my PC as an administrator, so I wasn't getting all the, like, the whole software looks different now that I'm running it as administrator. So I did that, and I got a base file from DC Works. Dwight, he actually has a YouTube channel that you guys should go check out. He's been actually talking to me on the phone over Facebook, and he was a great help, like, just a stand-up guy. And he sent me a map to try to see if I could get the car to start better and just work better. So I took his file and I uploaded it to my car, and it still had the same issue where it just wasn't starting. Nothing was working, nothing was happy. And while I had the key forward in the ignition, So I had the key forward like it was in the on position, and all I did was take the PC here and I unplugged the computer, or I unplugged the ECU from the computer and I plugged it back in. 1 second here. And then I plug it back in and the fuel pump runs longer, and then it starts like perfectly. There was no backfire that time or anything. But if I have, now that it's running and I shut the key off, I put it back in, the fuel pump doesn't prime that long. It only primes for like a second, less than a second. And it backfires and stutters on startup. It still starts and runs great, but it still has that issue where it's not happy. And like I said, when I turn the key forward, the fuel pump just goes on and off for a split second. I unplug the laptop, let it get off here for a second, offline, turn it back on. It's very sporadic. It's still sporadic. I didn't fix everything, but like I said, I don't think the tune was getting accepted into the ECU until I did that thing where I unplugged it and plugged it back in when the key was forward. And like I said, now it runs like $1 million. And like I said, his bass file was, I feel, a lot better than the Speedy EFI bass file, just because there's a lot of settings with cranking and just startup stuff in general that I'm not familiar with on Miatas. This is obviously my first Miata I've ever done. That's why I wanted to do one and try them out and see kind of what they're all about and how fun they are. And I'm not a type of tuner that is scared to ask for help. If I'm stumped on something, I want somebody else that has more experience with the platform than I do to get insight from, rather than me just kind of pissing in the dark. So it's one of them things where I'm not ashamed to ask for help if I need it. And like I said, Matt Happel from Sloppy Mechanics has helped me a ton with a lot of HP tuner stuff, and Dwight has now helped me a ton with my Miata project and the Speedy EFI ECU. And so far, the Speedy EFI ECU seems to be working well and everything like that. Obviously, I've only had it in here for a week, so I'm not sure like longevity-wise or anything like that, but I was a little salty earlier regarding, you know, just kind of the customer service side of things, where I was having an issue with the base file and the firmware. We actually had to change the firmware and stuff too. It was like I had a new firmware and we had to backdate it to 2/08 of 2020 or something like that. Different firmware. I don't know. Also, the support for this stuff is a little bit different because it's a Arduino board style computer instead of the normal Megasquirt stuff where it's a different style board. So that was a little bit confusing too, just kind of like learning that stuff. But nonetheless, the Miata is up and running good, and I worked out a ton of bugs with it, and I'm happy to say that. So for now, I don't know how long this video is. I may come back and do a separate dyno video tomorrow, or it'll be tomorrow for you guys. I'm gonna stay here and dyno the car yet. But now that I have everything actually working and the changes are actually doing something, where before, when I was making changes, they weren't actually affecting the car, I can actually proceed to tune. So, that being said, thank you for watching, and I hope you guys are excited about the Miata. I know it's a little bit different video or a little bit different platform to work with, but it is something to expand my horizons and learn more about different cars. So I'm gonna give her another fire up here. See, the fuel pump only primes for like a split second. I don't understand that. And it does seem like this setup doesn't have proper top dead center sensing. So that's why I believe that it's backfiring, because sometimes, shut it off, that time it fired immediately. This time, pop, pop, bang, bang, pop, pop, bang, bang, nothing. Try it again, and it starts. Shut it off, turn it back on, pop, pop, bang, bang, stop, try it again, fires immediately. So that is telling me that the engine doesn't know where number one cylinder is at any given time, and you have to shut it off and turn it back on to let the engine realize, or to get it back into a happier spot of the revolution. So yeah, it may just have a fixed cranking cycle where it doesn't know where number one cylinder is, and that's why it's popping and banging like this on startup. But it's, like I said, it's miles better than it was. I'm gonna start this thing up for you guys again just so you can hear the exhaust, because I haven't shown that yet and it sounds badass. So stay tuned for tomorrow's video, and we will get this thing up on the dyno. Well, it already is on the dyno. We'll get it strapped down. It is already strapped down. It's time to just floor it and see what kind of power we can get out of this little 1.6 liter. I do have the car, like I said, on E85, so it should be ready to party. So anyways, have a great night and a better tomorrow, guys. Hopefully you like the new camera, and hopefully some of this might have helped somebody. So thanks for watching.